Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
Hey everyone, before we get started with today's episode, I just want to make a little disclaimer. Today's episode involves a sensitive topic, and although I will never give or play descriptions that I deem to be too graphic in nature, listener discretion is advised.
Brooke Richardson killed a baby that she didn't want and never intended to keep. She didn't plan for her pregnancy, and she didn't prepare for her daughter's birth.
It's September 4th, 2019, and prosecutor Stephen Knippen is giving his opening statements to a Warren County, Ohio jury. He's arguing that Brooke Skylar Richardson, better known as Skylar, is guilty of aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, endangering a child, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse, and the death of her own baby.
Her actions and her statements demonstrate that she had no intention of having this baby. Rather, the decision on the life of Brooke's daughter was made before that child was even born. She was never going to see the light of day, no matter what.
In part 1, I went over Skylar's case leading up to her trial. To recap, the 18-year-old high school cheerleader found out in 2017 that she was pregnant in her 3rd trimester. The doctor told her she could expect to deliver her baby within 10 weeks. But less than 2 weeks later, Skylar had strong cramps on our prom night. The following night, when she tried to go to bed, she couldn't sleep, went to the bathroom, and delivered a baby.
And when the time came in the middle of the night and she could conceal her daughter no longer, she took her newborn's life, buried it in the backyard, and destroyed any evidence of the existence of her daughter. And just hours after putting her daughter in the ground, she documented her feelings about exactly what was going through her head at that time. I'm literally speechless with how happy I am.
Skylar told law enforcement about the death of her baby and the buried remains in the backyard after being confronted months later in an interrogation room. She was indicted by a grand jury and 2 years later went to trial. This is Jillian, and you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 95, part 2. It's that time of year where there's no better place to snuggle up with a good book and a warm drink than your very own home. Your furniture should suit your needs, but also feel uniquely you. That's where Joybird comes in. With Joybird, your personal, one-of-a-kind style should match your furniture. Bring your mood boards to life with hundreds of customizable pieces and over 50 fabric options. Whether you're more of a neutral beige or a bubblegum pink person, it's built by Joybird but created by you. Need a sofa in a golden hue or a love seat in the hottest red? Joybird's got your back. Joybird offers a range of kid and pet-friendly upholstery options so that your creations can stand the test of time and the wrath of your furry friends and toddlers, which is great for me since I currently have both. Free fabric swatch kits are available to let you see and touch other fabrics and help you make the perfect choice. Free personal design consultants are also on hand to help you go from inspiration to creation. And they also have a 365-day home trial where you can skip the furniture store and bring the showroom home. Sit on it, sleep on it, and break it in. If you don't love your Joybird, return it. Joybird stands by its quality and craftsmanship. If it's not everything you hoped and dreamed for, send it back. Free returns within 2 weeks of delivery. Create furniture that matches your own fearless style at joybird.com/court. See how Joybird can help make your dream space a reality today. Go to joybird.com/court and receive an exclusive offer for 25% off your first order by using the code COURT. Ladies, what an amazing time we live in. Our phones are like little pocket computers, and pretty soon our cars will be driving us around. But one thing has always seemed to stay the same: coloring our hair. So the typical options are you go to a salon where you sit there all day and end up spending tons of money, or you pick up a box kit at the convenience store, but that seems to always dry out your hair, or you can never get the color right. But now there's a new way: Madison Reed. It took a strong woman to shake up the hair coloring world, and that's exactly what Amy Errett did with Madison Reed, which she named after her daughter. Now you might be thinking, okay, sounds good, but how do I match my color? Well, Madison Reed gives you the tools you need so you can color with confidence. Get ammonia-free multi-tonal hair color delivered to your door for less than $25. Visit madison-reed.com. That's madison-reed.com. And now, Court Junkies can get 10% off plus free shipping on your first color kit. Use code COURTJunkie. That's code COURTJunkie at madison-reed.com. Skylar Richardson was represented by father-son Ohio attorneys Charles H. and Charles M. Ritgers. The younger Charles M. Ritgers gave opening statements on behalf of the defense. He said Skylar delivered a stillborn baby and named her Annabelle. He described Skylar sitting on the floor of her bathroom, holding her baby that is white, not breathing, not moving, not making any sounds, and with an umbilical cord that is not attached. He said Skylar mustered whatever strength she had left and went outside to her backyard to dig a shallow grave. She placed Annabelle in the hole, covered her with dirt, and dragged a 25-pound flower pot in front of the grave. She put flowers on the grave, went back inside, and collapsed in bed.
From her window, she can see this gravesite. So the and she did bury Annabelle in a shallow grave. So the prosecutor's discussion about conceal and destroy, she buried her daughter and marked the grave and put flowers on top of it. She didn't throw her in a trash can. She didn't throw her in a dumpster.
The defense says this case comes down to the interrogations. I covered Skylar's 2 police interviews in depth in part 1. In her first interview, Skylar denied harming her baby and admitted to burying her in her backyard. A few days later, a doctor examining Annabelle's bones reported seeing possible charring on the bones and said they may have been burned. Investigators brought Skylar in for a second interview and asked her, "What about the fire?" They wanted to find out if she burned her baby.
The word cremate is used repeatedly by the police. And they tell Skylar, essentially, I think you'll see this yourself, it's better to just agree with us, give us our truth, because you're not going to be accepted. Your truth won't be accepted. So guess what your words they get Skylar to say when they finally break her down, when they repeatedly refuse her denials? I touched the baby with a lighter and tried to cremate her a little bit. Now, what is not possible is a child catching on fire by touching it with a lighter. It is not possible. Babies are 80% water. And there is a conversation in the interrogations, and it is in the police report, that the flames went up to the chest before Skylar thought it was wrong and put them out. She's utterly confused by this whole conversation, but she's giving the police what they asked her to give them. She just went shoo, she said. And the police don't second guess it at all, that it's impossible to touch a child with a lighter and have the child catch on fire.
In an hours-long interview without her parents or attorney present, Ritger says law enforcement made Skylar vulnerable, malleable, and made her sad by saying she could only get Annabelle's remains back for a proper burial if she tells them the whole truth. They told her that they don't think she killed her baby, but do think she saw signs of life. Ritkers admitted that Skylar told detectives Annabelle gurgled, but only after they used the word gurgle first. Ritkers said that, like the burning issue, detectives wanted Skylar to tell them their truth, even if their truth turned out to be wrong. The doctor who thought the bones may have been burned changed her opinion about 2 weeks after Skylar's second interview, and in this new report, she said she saw no signs of burning.
This case is about a rush to judgment, and it's all about that second interrogation. It's the whole case. And if you can't, if we know that the police were able to break her down and make her vulnerable and admit to something that is scientifically impossible, something that later is admitted to be wrong, they're going to base their entire case on the same interrogation. They didn't, when they found out this was all wrong, they didn't hit a reset button. They didn't say, we made a grave mistake, when the doctor said I was wrong. In fact, apparently they were upset. They disregarded any truth, anything that would in any way question their truth and story. And they said, well, Skylar said it. We'll just keep going. We'll just keep moving forward. And I trust that you'll keep an open mind throughout this entire case. And at the end of this case, you'll find Skylar not guilty of all counts.
The state's first witness was Trey, the baby's biological father.
At some point, did the relationship turn sexual?
Yes, it did.
And did you have sex with Ms. Richardson?
Yes, I did.
How many times?
2.
During those times, sir, did you use protection when you had sex with her?
1 out of the 2 times.
Okay, so one time you did not use any protection?
Yes.
Trey said he had unprotected sex with Skylar in the middle of August 2016. He said Skylar ended things right before he went off to his freshman year in college. She told him she was busy with her senior year and didn't have time for him. During the investigation, Trey agreed to provide a buccal swab to detectives, and he was a positive match for paternity. On cross-examination, Trey said he initially denied that there was any possibility that he could be the father. Dr. William Andrew, the OBGYN who told Skylar she was pregnant, took the stand too. He told the jury about his appointment with Skylar and about needing to counsel her about the importance of telling someone that she was pregnant. He said he thought people would line up to raise the baby, perhaps her parents, another relative, or someone else involved. He said she didn't quite have a reaction to this. She didn't reply. He told the court that he thought she was internalizing, which would be what he considers a typical reaction from a teenager.
I warned her that if she felt like hurting herself or hurting the baby in any way, that she should contact me.
Why did you tell her that?
Well, she'd received some surprise news, and in general, I counsel every woman at some point in the pregnancy about the importance of understanding that I am a resource for if they have postpartum depression, antepartum depression, anxiety or issues, I'm an appropriate person to bring those issues to.
He said Skylar never asked him about getting an abortion. Defense attorney Charles M. Ritkers pulled out a tape measure on cross-examination to show the jury what Dr. Andrew uses to measure a woman's belly to check gestational development.
If we now know that at the time you saw Skylar on April 26th, she was actually 37 to 39 weeks pregnant, what would that mean to you as an obstetrician?
Well, that would have meant that she was much smaller than expected, and that would have meant that since it's more than 2 centimeters smaller, that would have required explanation.
Dr. Andrew said if he knew at the time of the exam that Skylar was 37 to 39 weeks pregnant and not 32 weeks pregnant as he believed her to be, there would have been concern that the fetus wasn't growing adequately. It's what's called intrauterine growth restriction. He said one possible cause is if the fetus isn't getting enough nutrition or oxygen. Another cause could be from compromise of the placenta. It's associated with the higher risk of a stillbirth.
Intrauterine growth restriction is an indication of potentially one problem that may cause it is a failure of the placenta to adequately exchange nutrients and oxygen. Another indicator that there may not be adequate flow through the placenta could be a lack of fluid around the baby. That's one of the earlier indicators of a problem with the pregnancy in general.
And a heartbeat, having a normal heart rate, does not mean that the baby's not growth restricted. Is that right?
That's correct. As I said earlier, one of the last things to change would be if there was something wrong with the pregnancy, one of the last things to change would be the heart rate.
He also explained that if the umbilical cord breaks just before or during delivery, it could be a sign of a pregnancy that is not developed properly. Skylar had also indicated to him that she had a menstrual cycle a month before her appointment, but of course, it wasn't her period. Dr. Andrew said bleeding in the third trimester is very concerning. And then there were Skylar's known struggles with an eating disorder.
Does malnutrition or women with eating disorders, does that increase the odds of a stillborn in your practice and experience?
Yes.
On redirect, the prosecutor again asked the doctor if his fundal height measurement could have been off by 3 to 4 weeks. Dr. Andrew agreed. The prosecutor also pointed out that he only did a brief ultrasound, which could not tell if the baby was intrauterine growth restricted, also known as IUGR.
You're not here telling this jury that you believe that she had an IUGR baby, is that right? You're not making that diagnosis.
I could not have made that diagnosis at the time of the visit.
The defense was quick to recross.
Dr. the prosecutor said, is it possible that your 32-centimeter fundal height measurement could be off by 3 to 4 weeks? Of course it's possible because it was, correct?
Yes.
And if it is off by more than two weeks, what's that mean?
Well, if it's 2 weeks below a known gestational age or 4 weeks above a known gestational age, that would be of concern and would warrant additional testing, which might involve getting an ultrasound to determine is the baby too big or is the baby too small.
And if you measure 32 centimeters and a woman is actually 35 or 37 or 39 weeks gestation, that is indicative that she has intrauterine growth restriction, correct?
That's certainly a possibility.
Hilltop OBGYN doctors had contacted authorities to report Skylar. Warren County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant John Fain was assigned to the case. He arranged for the crime scene unit to come to the Richardsons' home for a death investigation. Skylar pointed out to investigators where she buried her daughter's body, and they began to look for evidence. Warren County Coroner Russell Updegrove explained to the jury how the bones were excavated.
Like I said, I can't comment on how the bones were removed before I got there because I wasn't there. But once I got there, everything that was removed, basically I was just using, I had gloves on, but I was just using my fingers and just feeling through the dirt and removing the individual bones. But like I said, some of the bones are very, very, very small. And of course, the inside the dirt is admixed. There's some little rocks and other things. So once I removed everything that I could physically feel that looked or felt like a bone, then I dug several inches around the site and just lifted all that other dirt and put in a separate container so the pathologist who would be doing the exam the following day could go through that material to look for additional bones.
In addition to the bones, I believe you also testified that there was like tissue remnants found?
Yes.
And then what about, did you see any hair evidence of hair found at the scene?
I did collect a few small pieces of what I thought represented hair, and we did collect that as well.
Dr. Updegrove contacted Lieutenant Fain after forensic anthropologist Dr. Beth Murray reported that the bones looked like they could have had thermal injury or were burned. Warren County Sheriff's Detective Brandy Carter prepared the case report. On cross-examination, the defense asked Dr. Updegrove if this report properly relayed the information he had passed along.
According to Detective Carter's report we have here, she says that you actually said that the remains of the infant had been burned. Might you have said that?
I said that Dr. Murray was suspicious that there may have been thermal injury. I never would have gone out on a limb to say myself that they were burned because, they were discolored, but she's the anthropologist, I'm not. So that's why I defer to her to make that sort of interpretation, and which I was just the middleman, essentially, in relaying that information to Lieutenant Fain.
Gotcha. So she's wrong in her report saying that you had advised Lieutenant Fain that the remains of the infant had been burned. That's an incorrect statement.
Yes, that's
Thank
incorrect.
you very much.
The state played both of Skylar's police interrogations in the courtroom. If you haven't yet listened to part 1, I highly recommend you do so now for an in-depth look into both of these interviews. There are some important points, however, that I didn't get to include in part 1 that I want to focus on now. On July 14th, 2017, Lieutenant Fain, along with Detective Katie G., spoke with Skylar in the police interview room. Skylar describes going to her bathroom toilet in the middle of the night on May 7th and delivering a baby.
She don't know what happened. She just kind of came out and I tried.
Okay, no, and I understand. When she came out, were you able to catch her? Did she go into the toilet, or were you kind of?
Yeah, a little. I kind of caught her by the head a little bit.
Caught her by the head. Okay, and so when you say a little, are you holding her head and like maybe feet or something, or hanging down into the toilet, or how?
I don't remember.
Skylar says she honestly doesn't remember. She tells the officers that the baby wasn't breathing and didn't make any noises. She says she didn't tell a soul about the birth and that no one in her home heard her. When she realized the baby was not alive, she put the body in a towel and took her outside to her backyard.
So you take her with you. How far down do you think that you dug?
Not that deep.
I'm sorry?
Not that deep.
Not that
I
deep.
wasn't strong enough. I hurt really bad.
Well, and that's what one reason I asked that is because I know the ground can be pretty hard, and you're trying to do it by yourself. You're upset. It's horrible. You just had a shovel, right? Like that, and you didn't have a pick to help break stuff up or anything. Oh, a little shovel.
I tried as much.
How far down would you, like, if you could even guess, do this? Would you say you dug this far, this far, this far? Maybe only that far.
I covered her though.
She says she didn't dig that far down because she wasn't strong enough and it hurt really bad. She placed the baby in the hole and covered her with dirt. She moved a flower pot in front of the grave and placed flowers on top. She then went back inside to clean up the blood. A couple days later, she threw away the towel she had used to clean up. 6 days after that initial interview, after receiving the call from the coroner about possible burning, Lieutenant Fain asked Skylar to come back into the police station. This time, he's with Detective Brandy Carter, who would become the lead detective. They ask Skylar if it's possible her baby maybe breathed a little. Skylar says maybe. They ask her, what about the fire? She says, what fire? But they continue to press her and say it's important for Skylar to tell them about that little fire thing so they can put Annabelle to rest. Skylar very quietly says, maybe I cremated her a little bit. She asks if she can go home with her dad still. Detective Carter, holding Skylar's hand, then says they have bosses they have to report to, and they're unable to give Skylar an answer as to Annabelle's remains until they know everything. Then, Skylar says she put a lighter to the baby and she caught on fire. She says the flames went up to Annabelle's chest when she put them out. She also says she heard the baby gurgle, but then nothing again. Skylar was arrested following that interview. In court, prosecutors asked Lieutenant Fain about how he conducted the interview.
Sir, there were several times in that interview where you told her that you didn't believe that she purposely killed her baby. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes, I do.
Why were you saying that?
We're at the part of the interview where I felt like and was pretty certain she was getting closer to confessing and telling us more of the truth. And just from experience of interviews over the course of my 20-year career, her behavior wasn't anything that was out of the normal or atypical, so to speak. And a lot of times if the person talking to you just gets completely focused on the negative outcome or just thinking, what are you going to do to me? What are you going to do to me for what I've done? Things just stall right there.
Okay. And so what do you try to do to prevent that from stalling?
Just redirect her, and instead of dwelling on the consequences, just to be honest, just to try to get to the truth and go ahead and not focus on what the possible outcome is, because none of us even know what that outcome could be, but just getting her to be comfortable enough to tell the truth.
While Detective Brandy Carter was the one who prepared the police report on Skylar, Lieutenant Fain said he likely signed off on it. On cross-examination, attorney Charles M. Ritkers asks Lieutenant Fain if there's any mention in that report of Skylar denying the burning.
No, I do not see anything in here where she wrote or detailed Skylar denying burning the baby.
But what she did write in her report is that ultimately, and I'm on page 38 if you look at the top number.
Thank you.
Third paragraph.
Thank you.
Middle. Ultimately admitted, she did say at first denied, but didn't say 17 times. Ultimately admitted that she tried to cremate her and that she took her outside, dug the hole, and then used a long lighter at her feet to burn her. Then when the flames reached chest level, she realized it was wrong and put out the fire. That's what she put in her report, correct?
Correct.
Detective Carter also put in the report that Dr. Murray advised that the remains of the infant had been burned.
There's nothing in the report about Skylar saying that Annabelle was white when she was delivered, correct?
Not that I see here, no.
Nothing about, nothing in the report that Skylar said she had no heartbeat, correct?
I don't know if that part's in there or not. I haven't seen it yet, but I do not know.
Nothing in the report that Skylar said her baby wasn't moving when she was delivered, correct?
Possibly correct, that it's not there.
Ritkers also pointed out that Detective Carter didn't update the report to include that Dr. Murray had changed her opinion. Lieutenant Fain said that was a separate part of the investigation and not something they would necessarily document.
You did send samples from the gravesite off to the
samples were sent, yes.
And the fire marshal said no ignitable liquid was detected in exhibits 1, 2, and 3, correct?
Yeah, I think I might be able to help this along some. I think where you might misunderstand is a lot of this stuff, most of this stuff I wasn't doing. Like the forensic stuff I was doing. The case was assigned to Detective Carter. So my primary responsibilities in the criminal investigation section as the lieutenant are running the section. And again, like I had said the other day, the reason I became initially involved in the interviews is I didn't have any detectives available at the time.
You believe Dr. Murray, the information she provided to you that the bones had been charred, right?
Correct.
And at the time, you did not know that many weeks later she would change that opinion, correct?
Correct.
So after you get that information from Dr. Murray that later turned out to be false, you send a new team back to the Richardson household, correct?
We did go back to the house, yes. But I want to correct you there where you say, I don't know if you're wanting me to agree that the information turned out to be false. There's no evidence that the information turned out to be false. She did change her story. I just want to make sure you weren't wanting me to agree that the information was now false, that there was a fire.
What I'm referring to on being false is Dr. Murray said I was wrong.
Correct. Dr. Murray changed her opinion, yes, sir.
And she said there is no evidence of burning. You're familiar with that, right?
Yes, that she saw no evidence, yes.
Yeah, and no one in this case has seen any evidence of burning. Do you know that?
I'm sorry?
Every doctor that has testified in this case and will testify agrees there's no evidence of burning, correct?
Correct, but they will also agree that that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not there was a fire, that there would be a fire. There could still be a fire without evidence of burning, well, according to Dr. Sims at least.
Lieutenant Fain told the court that he doesn't consider himself experienced in the Reed technique. The Reed technique is a method of interrogating suspects, but we'll get more into that later. It will become a key part to the defense's case.
Ultimately, she was broken down, and she said she tried to cremate Annabelle just a little bit, right?
Can you define broken down?
Well, do you agree that you and Detective Carter were pretending that the main purpose of your interrogation of her was to help get Annabelle's remains back to her family for a proper burial?
Would I agree that that was my main purpose?
That that's what you led Skylar to believe?
I know we alluded to that. I can't say I necessarily agree that we made it clear to her that that was our main purpose, but that was certainly one of the things that we hoped we would be able to accomplish.
Ritkers then asked Lieutenant Fain about the legitimacy of Skylar's claim that she cremated the baby.
Lieutenant Fain, babies are 80% water, are they not?
I do not know the exact percentage, but it sounds accurate. I know at least 75.
More than adults?
Yes, sir.
And you can hold a lighter. I could stand up here in front of this jury and hold a lighter to my hand or my leg. For 2 hours, I wouldn't catch on fire. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
I believe without some additive or something to accelerant, like an accelerant type, I believe, yes, that's probably correct, unless it was hair.
Yeah. And hair was found. There was no burning on the hair. I'll represent that to you.
Okay. That's what you'd say to Jess.
And again, the fire marshal report, 3 samples sent to them from the gravesite, no accelerant used, or no
Correct.
Accelerant found, right?
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Fain testified that he didn't know that Blue Star, a tool CSI teams use to see if blood is present, will also illuminate if a household cleaner was used in an area. Ritkers then took out the piece of carpet investigators removed from Skylar's bedroom floor, underneath her bed. He tried to show that there wasn't much of a stain on the piece of carpet and that it could have illuminated just from being cleaned. Skylar had also told Lieutenant Fain in her interview that she had searched on her phone for how to get rid of a baby. But on cross-examination, Lieutenant Fain admitted that there was no such search history found on her phone matching that description. Lieutenant Fain was then asked about comments he made in a Facebook group from his personal profile.
You said, interesting read with the Richardson case right around the corner, ... and posted an article in a conversation group, correct?
Oh, yes, I do recall that, yes.
And there was another comment as well, correct?
Possibly.
Okay. While the case was pending, and I know it wasn't related to this case, but you were found, 2 charges were sustained for conduct unbecoming of an officer and unsatisfactory performance, correct?
Yes.
And do you remember at the end of these interrogations when you spoke with Scott Richardson, Skylar's dad, and he said, she may be 18, but she's just a stupid kid. And you said, yeah, I think she's just a young, scared kid. Do you remember that?
I said what?
I think she's just a young, scared kid. Do you remember that?
I think I said yes. Yeah, young, scared kid. I recall I didn't think of her as stupid, but that wasn't my observation. That was her father's.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Then redirect by the prosecution.
Sir, with respect to the discipline Mr. Ritkers was just mentioning, did it in any way affect the way that you conducted your investigation in this case?
No, that discipline was something not related to this case, and it was also well after my part of this case was already done.
And in fact, the main part of your involvement in this case was to conduct the interviews with the defendant, Ms. Richardson. Is that right?
Yes, for the most part, my involvement is what everyone has seen on the 2 interviews that we saw.
Okay.
We'll get into more trial testimony right after this quick break from today's sponsors. SimpliSafe home security is like getting commercial-grade, enterprise-level security, but for your own home. Think about the security Fortune 500 companies use. They need to know police are going to be on the scene immediately. And this is exactly the kind of security you get with SimpliSafe. If there's a break-in, they use real video evidence to give police an eyewitness account of the crime. And that means police dispatch up to 350% faster than for a normal burglar alarm. With SimpliSafe, you get comprehensive protection for your home. Outdoor cameras and doorbells alert you to anyone approaching your home. Entry, motion, and glass break sensors guard inside. Plus, SimpliSafe protects your home from fires, water damage, carbon monoxide poisoning, and it's all monitored 24/7 by live security professionals. You can set it up yourself with no tools needed, or they can do it for you. And it's only 50 cents a day with no contracts. Visit SimpliSafe.com/court. You'll get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. You've got nothing to lose. Go now and be sure you go to SimpliSafe.com/court so they know that our show sent you. That's SimpliSafe.com/court. The RealReal is the leading reseller for authenticated luxury consignment. Sell your men's and women's luxury fashion, fine jewelry, watches, art, and home, and earn more. The RealReal makes it easy to sell your items with 3 options. First, experience their free white glove in-home consignment consultation and pickup by one of their luxury managers. Or come visit one of their brick-and-mortar locations for in-store drop-off, where you can meet the expert in person and go through the authentication process one-on-one. And finally, for those of you who want to contribute to the circular economy through consignment but don't have enough time in the day, they'll send you everything you need for a free, safe, and sustainable shipping process. So think sustainably. Consign with the RealReal today and earn up to 85% commission plus site credit. Authentic, sustainable luxury, only at therealreal.com. The state called Dr. Susan Brown to present her autopsy to the jury. She said she used statements Skylar made to investigators as part of her determination of cause and manner of death.
Doctor, when she makes statements indicating that she may have taken her daughter's life, was that relevant to you?
Yes.
When she made statements indicating that her daughter may have been alive for a period of time, was that relevant to you?
Yes.
How so?
It all indicates life.
You deal with dead bodies, correct?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but the death, the dead bodies, the processes that the bodies go through, have you ever had an experience where a deceased infant cries?
No.
Gurgles?
No.
Breathes?
No.
Moves?
No.
Was it concerning to you when you were considering all of the information and trying to reach your opinion on cause of death that she indicated that she may have tried to cremate her child?
Yes.
How so?
It indicates, along with the other scene information, of a deliberate attempt to try to hide or conceal the infant.
Dr. Brown listed the cause of death as homicidal violence of undetermined etiology. She said that means that the evidence points to a homicide, but that the exact cause of the homicide cannot be determined. On cross-examination, defense attorney Charles H. Ritkers asked the doctor if she was able to tell if Annabelle sustained any injuries prior to her death. Dr. Brown said that based on her exam only at the autopsy, she cannot.
Based on that examination, you cannot tell us to any reasonable degree of scientific certainty that Annabelle was born alive. Is that correct?
Based on just the autopsy examination alone, I cannot determine whether it was a live birth.
Dr. Brown, if Mr. Rickers asks you a yes or no question, he is entitled to a yes or no answer. Go ahead, Mr. Rickers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Doctor, based on your examination, you cannot tell us to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that Skylar's statement to the police that Annabelle was a stillborn isn't true, correct?
Correct.
Now yet, Dr. Allen, in your report, you list homicide as the cause of death. We all heard that, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated that that's not based solely on your physical examination of Annabelle, correct?
Correct.
You indicated it's based on the police interrogations, correct?
That is one piece, yes.
You'd agree with me, Dr. Allen, that you're not a trained police officer, is that correct?
Correct.
And you're not trained in interrogation techniques, are you?
No, I'm not.
And you're not trained in the Reed technique, are you?
No.
You're not trained to identify false confessions, are you?
No.
You're not trained to identify psychological predispositions to acquiesce to authority, are you?
No.
The state then called University of Indianapolis forensic anthropologist Dr. Krista Latham. Dr. Latham provided the state with a second evaluation of the baby's remains. In her report, Dr. Latham stated that Annabelle's skull fractures occurred after she died. She said she could not find any signs of trauma that could have contributed to the newborn's death. Brandon, Skylar's boyfriend, was also called to the stand. He told the jury that they started dating on January 30th, 2017. He was a junior and Skylar was a senior. They had only known each other for about a month prior, but they quickly began spending 5 to 6 days a week together. On spring break, Brandon and his family went to Fort Walton Beach, Florida, for a baseball trip. The Richardsons also took a trip to nearby Destin, Florida. Prosecutors showed the jury a selfie of Brandon and Skylar in their bathing suits from that trip. They may have been young, but the relationship quickly turned serious, and they told each other how much they cared for one another.
Now, Brandon, when you and Miss Richardson started dating in January of 2017, did you know at that time that she was pregnant?
No.
Did you have any idea at all?
No.
When did you first find out?
When everyone else found out.
During the investigation?
Correct.
Backing up a little bit, after spring break, you guys get back from spring break, is the relationship still going pretty strong?
Yes.
Do you end up taking her to her senior prom?
Yes.
I know how you just answered the question, but I want to make sure. Did you have any idea at prom that Miss Richardson was pregnant?
No.
Prosecutors showed the jury a photo of Brandon and Skylar dressed up before they headed off to prom.
You said that at the time you did not know she was pregnant, correct?
Correct.
Since this case has come about, have you had an opportunity to look at these pictures again?
Yes.
Hindsight's 20/20, correct?
Yeah.
When you look at these pictures now, does she appear pregnant to you?
I mean, I would say so.
What did you hope would come of this relationship?
Long life.
And is that something you and her both talked about?
I don't think that we talked about it, no.
Did you think that she felt the same way?
Yeah.
In the days following prom, Brandon said Skylar never told him that she had given birth. She didn't tell him about burying her baby in the backyard either. In fact, Brandon said he only found out about what was happening because his friends kept sending him photos of the Richardsons' house with crime scene tape wrapped around it on July 14th. The next day, Skylar texted Brandon, quote, "Brandon, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm absolutely losing everything right now. I am having an extremely hard time staying strong. I lost a child and now all this. I just feel so broken and feel like I'm losing you. I am so sorry." 3 days later, Brandon texted Skylar, "I got on your Instagram and blocked Trey. I'm sorry if that was too far." As I went over in part 1, Skylar and her mother texted a lot. These text messages were read out loud for the jury. On April 25th, 2017, Skylar text messaged her mom, Kim, asking to not go to her scheduled gynecologist appointment the next day because she was scared to get on the pill and was panicking about prom. Kim told Skylar that she needed to go, that she's worried that Skylar might get pregnant. Quote, "Don't be mad at me. I'm thinking of your future. If you do adult things, you need to take adult actions and be responsible. I only want you to reach your potential and not have any roadblocks. It's either stop doing that or be responsible. I'm helping you, not hurting you, okay?" Skylar replied, "I'm not mad at you. I'm just very scared to go, and I'm scared that it's a boy doctor." Kim said, "It's a boy doctor that's the same guy I go to." Skylar then said, "Okay." In court, prosecutors revealed the following deleted text message from Kim to Skylar. Quote, "He brought you into this world. He's a very good doctor. If you want, you can go to Planned Parenthood but have to pay out of pocket, and the doctors are not quality. My doctor is a surgeon and has been doing this for years. I am sick about it too, but I have to do what's best for your future, so you will have one." Later that day, Skylar texted Kim, "Seriously, I'm so glad I went for a run today, though. That really boosted my mindset and mood." Kim replied, "Great, I am so happy. You needed it, and it will help with your dress." Skylar said, "Definitely, and I noticed my shorts a lot looser." Kim said, "Great, see how quick you can turn it around. Hit another round of sit-ups later tonight. It will only help." "Definitely," Skylar replied. Skylar saw Dr. Andrew on April 26th when she found out that she was pregnant. On May 1st, Kim asked Skylar about an email she had received from Dr. Andrew's office, an email that said PTPRENANT. She asked Skylar what that meant, and Skylar responded that she had no clue. And after a few more text exchanges, Skylar assured her mom that she will call them. Quote, "Please still have a good day, Mommy. I'm sorry if you're stressed now, but I wouldn't be getting smaller if I was, and I wouldn't be on birth control. I love you. Please don't be mad at me or sad. It was just an accident. Please, let's have a good day. It's prom week." The day after that text exchange, on May 2nd, Kim texted Skylar and asked if she's feeling better. Skylar said, "Yeah, I slept for about 30 minutes before I had to get up, and that definitely helped. Ready to tackle the day." Kim responded, "Great, your hormones are definitely going to be wacky, so just relax, take Advil. Then in a few months, you'll be super regular, and all will be well." Skylar said, "Thanks, I will. These are horrible. They feel like some of the worst period cramps, but I'll survive. My workout will help relax them later." Kim said, "Yes, it will relax them. At least this means the pills are starting to work on you." 2 days later, on May 4th, the day before prom, Skylar texted Kim, quote, "Bossed it up with 300 calories on the treadmill, which was pretty good for how I am feeling. Couldn't get a picture to show off because I was talking to Linwood, LOL, but I'm headed home." Kim responded, "You look amazing," to which Skylar said, "Thanks so much. I feel amazing." 2 days after prom, on May 7th, Skylar sent a text message to her mom, which is later found to have been deleted. Quote, "I'm literally speechless with how happy I am. My belly is back. OMG. I am never, ever, ever letting it get like this again. You're about to see me look freaking better than before. OMG." On May 17th, Skylar texted Kim, quote, "I feel awesome. That was so great. I'm so happy and proud. First thing Linwood said to me was, 'Wow, you look great. How much weight have you lost?' And it made me feel so incredibly proud to say 20 pounds. Then he announced to the whole class, and everyone clapped and cheered for me. It made me feel so good." Kim said, "I could cry. You are literally my hero." Skylar later replied, "You know what's crazy? When I went to gyno on April 25th, I was 149 pounds, and today I weighed 119 pounds. That's literally 30 pounds gone." Kim said, Literally amazing and crazy to do the math on that. I'm so proud you do this for you and you are so happy now. That's all I ever want for you. On July 1st, Kim texted Skylar, quote, Hilltop OBGYN left a message. You're due for your follow-up. Make a reminder on your calendar to call Monday and schedule your appointment for your follow-up on pills. You will have to go in and plan to be there at least an hour. Skylar said okay. The defense was able to ask the digital forensic examiner about not only what was in the data he recovered from Skylar's devices, but about what he didn't find.
Nothing on the phone, no search. There was testimony that Skylar said she was a little bit vague. She didn't know what she searched for. She said it would have been how not to have or get rid of a baby. Any search on her phone like that?
Not that I saw.
Anything on her phone about murdering or killing a baby?
No.
Websites, cookies of websites, anything that would be sinister and motivation in the cookies that you found?
No.
After the state rested, the court proceeded to a standard judgment of acquittal hearing. This is when the defense argues that the state has not met their burden of proof and asks the judge to dismiss the charges against their client. Judge Oda ruled that the state had presented evidence for the most serious of Skylar's offenses. But Skylar was not aware of a pending investigation against her and so could not have been tampering with evidence. That charge was dropped. The defense called Skylar's father to testify for their case in chief. Scott Richardson described the town the family lived in as small and close-knit. He said Skylar is Daddy's little girl. Growing up, he said she tried playing softball, soccer, and tennis, but cheerleading stuck. By high school, Skylar was cheering competitively. She also volunteered to help out with the Rainbow Special Needs team.
About when did you first notice her problems with eating?
Well, looking back, I know it started when she was about 12, but I don't think I really noticed until she was in the 8th grade.
Okay, so how old would Skylar have been in 8th grade?
I think she turned 13, 14, in that range.
And when you say looking back, you think it was around 12. What sorts of things first kind of clued you in that she might have a problem with her eating?
Well, she started hiding food in her room. I mean, just, it was like it's hard to describe it. Her weight started to fluctuate, and she didn't eat normally around us. And she was overly concerned with how much the caloric intake.
At some point, did you and Kim get concerned enough where you got her in treatment?
We tried several different things. She was first to a dietitian, nutritionist, because we thought maybe that was her concern. And there was Children's Medical Center, several therapists. It was just nothing really seemed to help, and we just kept trying to do what we could.
And this was as early as what grade do you think she first might have started treatment?
I think it was 8th grade.
Scott said Skylar was bullied in 8th grade. She was not confrontational and wouldn't stand up for herself. Around her sophomore year, her weight fluctuated by at least 30 pounds in just 6 months. She was up in weight during her sophomore summer, then down in weight sophomore year, and back up again going into junior year. The judge instructed the jury that the defense is allowed to introduce character evidence in order to demonstrate that on the date in question, Skylar acted in conformity with this good character and did not commit the crimes of which she's accused. Jurors can consider issues of good character for this purpose, not for sympathy.
How surprised were you when you found out that your daughter had been pregnant?
Very.
That she delivered a baby and buried her in the backyard?
We were in shock.
You said some things in the interrogation. You said, why did you lie to us? Why did you lie to us? Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Well, we didn't know she was pregnant, and we had struggled with the whole eating disorder since she was 12, 13 years old, where she wasn't telling us what was going on.
Do you know why she didn't feel comfortable enough coming to you and saying she was pregnant?
I wish I did.
What would you and Kim have done if Skylar had delivered a live baby and come downstairs with a live baby?
We would have taken it into the family.
Would you have been mad?
I think we would have been in shock, and we probably would have been angry, but...
If she had told you that she was pregnant immediately on April 26th, as soon as she found out, how do you think Kim and you would have reacted?
Angry, then shocked.
Scott explained how he had made burial arrangements for baby Annabelle, including getting a burial plot. He said he let Lieutenant Fain know about these arrangements.
Well, I believe we'd been told that we could expect to get the remains back, so I asked him if that was still the case and when we might be able to do that so we could make arrangements.
Okay. Did you ultimately get them back?
No.
Kim had been subpoenaed by the prosecution, so she wasn't allowed to be in the courtroom listening to testimony, but she was at the courthouse every day. Scott said he was unaware that she had been cheering Skylar on to lose weight.
What's the biggest regret in your life, Scott?
Not having an attorney for the second interrogation.
What, if you could tell the jury one thing about Skylar before you get off the stand, what would it be?
She would never hurt another living being, let alone a baby.
On cross-examination, prosecutors asked Scott if he would have helped Skylar had he known that she was pregnant.
That baby wouldn't have wanted for anything. You would have made sure that all of that was provided for had she come and told you, in fact, that she was pregnant. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And let's go to the middle of the night on May 7th when she was going into labor. If she'd have came down to you, even if she hadn't told you that she was pregnant up until that point, if she'd have come and woken you and Kim up and told you that she was pregnant and that she needed help, you guys would have given it to her, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You would have driven her to the hospital if necessary?
Yes.
You would have called an ambulance?
Yes.
You'd have done whatever you could to make sure that your daughter and her daughter were safe. Is that fair?
Yes.
The defense also called an interrogation expert, Professor Alan Hirsch. If you're a longtime court junkie, you may recognize that name. I interviewed Professor Hirsch in a court junkie brief I did a while back on false confessions. Professor Hirsch attended Yale Law School, is an attorney, and also teaches law-related courses at Williams College. According to Professor Hirsch, there are two kinds of confession experts: mental health professionals, clinical psychologists or psychiatrists who evaluate whether or not the defendant is susceptible to coercion. And then there are also experts like himself, legal scholars whose expertise is in the interrogation methods that contribute to false confessions. Professor Hirsch testified that false confessions are broken down into three categories. The first is voluntary, someone who comes forward outside of an interrogation about committing a crime they did not commit. The second is coerced compliance confession, someone who, under interrogation, knows they're innocent but concludes they're best off if they confess. And the third is coerced internalized false confession, where the suspect actually comes to believe they committed the crime. The Read technique was recently popularized when the TV series When They See Us revisited the case about the Central Park Five. It was developed in the 1950s in the United States by John E. Reed, a psychologist, polygraph expert, and former Chicago police officer. Professor Hirsch explained to the jury what he says are the pitfalls of that technique.
So technically there are 9 steps, but it really consists of 2 essential steps. First, the interrogator expresses absolute certainty of the suspect's guilt. They communicate to them, we know you're guilty, nothing you say will convince us otherwise, and they cut off any denials or protestations of innocence. Having scared the suspect like that, they then do various things which we call minimizing the crime. These are various ways of suggesting or even explicitly telling the defendant that if you confess, it won't be that bad. It may be that your role was secondary or there were mitigating circumstances or there are great number of minimization techniques or themes.
He said it's that combination that breaks down people, including innocent people.
Confrontation scares the defendant into thinking it's futile to maintain innocence, and minimization makes the defendant or suspect conclude that confessing won't be that bad. And if you reach those two conclusions taken together just as a basic cost-benefit analysis, you'll conclude that confessing might be your best way out.
Professor Hirsch was asked to assess Skylar's police interrogations.
The officers in the July 20th interrogation of the defendant used a very aggressive version of the Reed technique.
Can you explain that to the jury?
So right at the outset, they told Skylar that with medical scientific certainty, her account where the baby was stillborn was false. That is standard confrontation. And then they advanced any number of minimization themes. They led on that the main purpose of this interrogation was a burial for the baby, a proper burial. They told her that they knew she didn't harm the baby deliberately. They said that she had been alone and in shock. These are all fairly typical minimization themes, but they went beyond that. They made two statements that I found particularly problematic. Lieutenant Fain said to her, "It's not as if we're suddenly going to jump up and judge you and say you're going to jail." And Detective Carter said to her, "You just tell us everything and then we can move on." Both of these comments indicate that the suspect will receive zero punishment if she confesses. Not a light sentence, not a benign treatment, but zero punishment. And that is an extreme and particularly troubling minimization tactic.
Professor Hirsch said it's problematic because it can break down an innocent person and lead them to confess. He also said the use of the word gurgle was troubling to him.
It's a subset of a broader phenomenon where there were several examples where Skylar seemed to echo language or information that had been given to her by the interrogators, and that's perhaps the most obvious example. Lieutenant Fain suggested to her more than once, "The baby gurgled," did the baby gurgle, which is a somewhat unusual notion, at least to me. And later on, Skylar says, "The baby gurgled." And we find this in many cases of proven false confessions. We see instances where the suspect has basically spat back information or ideas that was supplied by law enforcement.
On cross-examination, prosecutors pointed out that the Reed technique does produce reliable confessions.
With respect to minimization, there are times that people want to say something that they did, but because of the consequences that they think they may face, they may be reluctant to do that. Is that fair to say?
If I'm limited to yes or no, yes.
And minimization can help put them at ease with that if they can then not focus on the consequences, but just saying what they want to say. Is that fair?
I'm stuck with yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Fair, I think it's a little misleading to leave it there.
He was able to finish that response on redirect by the defense.
What I tell people is the problem with the Reed method is not that it's ineffective. The problem is that it's too effective. It does break down some guilty defendants, for sure, or suspects, but it also breaks down some innocent suspects.
The defense also called a series of witnesses to talk about Skylar's character. Her younger brother, Jackson, said he first noticed Skylar struggling with her weight when she was in 8th grade.
When Skylar, as she has this problems with the eating, did she ever purge? Did she ever throw up?
Yeah, I heard her on a constant basis get sick every night or so. Sometimes I wouldn't. It wasn't unusual for me to hear her get sick, and I knew it was part of her eating disorder because I knew she had it. I hated to hear it, but I never wanted to talk to her about it, make her feel bad about it. I just wanted her to be happy. So I would just either turn the TV up, listen to music, or be asleep by then, just block it out.
Could you hear it from your bedroom when she was in the bathroom?
Yeah.
How's this toll been on your family?
It's definitely been hard. I just seeing my mom cry a lot, that hurts. And I mean, I've only seen my dad cry twice, and that broke me. I hate seeing that, and just My mom's just constantly paranoid that someone's watching, and I just hate to see her like that. I mean, people saying things about my sister, I just wish we could have a normal life now. But it's been on 2 years now, and it just seems like it's never going to end.
Jackson said his sister is an affectionate, kind, and caring person. As he testified, Skylar wiped a tear from her eye. Skylar's friends told the jury about her volunteer work, her time helping children, and her willingness to help others. They also said they knew her weight to fluctuate up and down, some more aware of her eating disorder than others. The defense hired their own forensic pathologist to review the autopsy and the reports concerning the death of Annabelle. Dr. Mark Levaugh told the jury he could not rule on a cause and manner of death, instead saying that Annabelle died by undetermined means and circumstances. He said the bones showed no signs of thermal injury or burning, no evidence of trauma, and that there's no way of knowing by looking at them if the baby was born alive or not. It's for those reasons, Dr. Levaugh said, that he disagrees with Dr. Brown's determination that Annabelle died from homicidal violence. On cross-examination, however, Dr. Levaugh agreed with prosecutors that you wouldn't be able to see evidence of homicidal violence if the baby died from drowning or was strangled. In their closing arguments, prosecutors reiterated the alleged motive. Skylar's daughter was an unwanted child that would ruin her perfect life.
And she was determined to maintain that perfect life at all costs. Having a child that was the result of a less than 1 month casual relationship was not part of her perfect life. So Brooke kept her secret, a secret that she knew had the ability to destroy her perfect life and all of the plans that she had made. A secret that would forever alter her relationships with the two people that mattered most to her, her mom and Brandon.
She said Skylar chose to hide and conceal her child. And when the time came, Skylar killed her baby and buried her in the backyard to get rid of any evidence that she ever existed. Charles M. Ritgers began his closings by saying that the state found out more than 2 years ago that cremation story was false. But, he said, they continued throughout the trial to tell us all, well, Skylar said it.
Why'd they do it? Why would they come in here and tell all of us that this cremation and fire should be trusted? Why'd they do it? If they knew, they know. They know it's not possible. We all know. Our common sense tells us it's not possible. Science tells us it's not possible. Because they know that if you have reason to doubt what Skylar said about cremation and burning, then you have reason to doubt the other things she said that the detectives told her to say about signs of life.
He said even though it's impossible to light a baby on fire, detectives continued to ask Skylar for details of the fire, asking how she put it out. Ritger said Skylar is presumed innocent until proven otherwise. He then read from the jury instructions.
With respect to the charges of aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child endangering, the defendant cannot be found guilty of any criminal behavior with respect to her unborn child while she is pregnant. As I told you, and this is the judge, as I told you in my initial voir dire, the most frequent example of this, which is not an allegation in this case, is where an expectant mother takes illegal drugs and the child is born addicted to those drugs or dies as a result of that drug usage. The mother in that example cannot be prosecuted for endangering or killing her unborn child. Likewise, it is not a crime for the defendant not to obtain prenatal care or for her to do things while pregnant that may be harmful or injure her unborn child. In order to find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, and or child endangering, the state of Ohio must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the child alleged to be the victim, in this case, was born alive.
He told the jury the story of his own daughter's birth, just a few months prior to this trial.
My wife was in the hospital with great care, wonderful OBGYNs and nurses around her. There was fetal heart rate monitor. She did not have 6 years of an eating disorder. I can tell you she was not growth restricted. I knew she was pregnant. You could tell. And had the doctors not reacted quickly with a heartbeat monitor they were following my daughter's fetal heart rate, my daughter wouldn't be here today. And when they did an emergency C-section on my wife and pulled my daughter, Johanna, out of my wife, she was blue and purple, and I didn't know. I didn't know that that's what babies are supposed to look like, and I was scared until she let out what Dr. White said is the miracle of life, that wail.
He said when Skylar's life had difficult moments, she focused on the only thing she could control, her body, through her eating disorder. He asked the jury to not compromise when deliberating. If they have reasonable doubt about the live birth, the first 3 charges must be not guilty. As for abuse of a corpse, he cited the law as saying it outraged a reasonable community's sensibilities.
I agree the community's been outraged. But they've been outraged because for more than 2 years, the prosecutor's office and the detectives have said, we don't know if Skylar burned her baby alive. She said she lit her baby on fire. So ask yourself why they've been outraged.
The final word went to the prosecution.
This is what we're basing a stillbirth diagnosis from? White, I think? Are you kidding me? And when you view the statements made by the defendant in the context of the other information that we know, that she didn't want her child, that she looked for ways to get rid of her child, that she disposed of her child in the backyard without telling anyone, there's no question that her child was born alive in the early morning hours of May 7th. You can't say if a child was drowned. You can't say if a child was suffocated. No one was alleging that this child's skull was smashed in. Rather, the most obvious cause of death here would be drowning or suffocation in order to silence the baby as soon as she came out. There's a suggestion here that there's reasonable doubt due to the lack of scientific or medical evidence. The reason that there's no exact medical or scientific cause of death is because of the deliberate actions of the defendant. The defendant's entire purpose of concealing her daughter and burying her in the backyard without telling anyone was so that no one would ever be able to run a test on that child. That was her purpose. So now to come in here and ask to be rewarded for that fact, to be rewarded for the fact that she was able to conceal that child for 2 months in the ground, that's unbelievable.
Prosecutor Knippen told the jurors that their instructions have a part about consciousness of guilt. They're allowed to consider whether or not they believe she hid evidence of a crime when making a determination about her guilt. He said direct and circumstantial evidence have the same weight, and the jurors have to look at all of the circumstances, and her actions point to this child being alive.
If it was up to the defendant, Dr. Boyce would have never called the police, and that child would still be 2 inches in the dirt back behind their home. So let's not all pretend that on July the 12th, she was ready to come clean and tell everyone and get this burden off her chest, because we know that's not true. So we have all of these pieces of the puzzle, and now the image is really starting to become clear, isn't it? What do we know? She didn't want it. She couldn't get rid of it. She researched ways to get rid of it. Never told anyone about it. Lied and concealed it. No preparations or planning for it. Upon having it, buried it in the backyard. Destroyed and disposed of any evidence of it. Was happy after it died. And never told her family about it after its death. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm using it here as opposed to Brooke's daughter is because that is how Brooke described her daughter throughout the entire first interview. You'll have that. Go back and watch it. Every time she talked about her daughter, it was it. It wasn't until the second interview, after the police were involved, that all of a sudden her daughter had a name, and it was Annabelle.
Knippen said there's no excuse for Skylar not helping her daughter, and that, at the very least, constitutes involuntary manslaughter and endangering children. Finally, he said there's only one reason Skylar gave birth in silence in the middle of the night. Her child was never going to see the light of day.
She didn't just get lucky that a child that she didn't want, made no plans for, and told no one about, just happened to come out stillborn in the middle of the night under the cover of darkness. This is someone who actively researched how to get rid of a baby and then made it happen by killing her and burying her in the backyard. And now she comes to you when she's caught in her web of lies and deception, and she asks you to believe that this was all just luck. All of the stars didn't just align, ladies and gentlemen, for her to have a stillborn child that she didn't want, told no one about, made no preparations for, and concealed and buried her in the backyard, all so that she could maintain the appearance and the image of her perfect life. That's not reasonable doubt. That's not doubt based on reason and common sense. That's ridiculous. That would be holding us to a standard of proving this case to you beyond all possible doubt, which the judge will tell you is not the standard. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. And are you firmly convinced of the truth of the charge? And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know how Brooke Richardson truly felt about her daughter, don't take it from me. Don't take it from Mr. Ritkers. You don't even have to look at the interrogation tapes. If you want to know how she truly felt about her daughter after just putting her in the ground, what was her reaction before she was ever charged, before she ever spoke with the police? Back when she thought she got away with everything, how did she feel? I'm literally speechless with how happy I am.
The jury deliberated for a little more than 4 hours. Then, the verdict.
Would the defendant please rise? With regard to count one, we, the jury in the above captioned case, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of the offense of aggravated murder, and there appear to be 12 jury signatures affixed. Verdict form 2, involuntary manslaughter. We, the jury in the above captioned case, do hereby find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of the offense of involuntary manslaughter.
As the judge was reading the verdict, Skylar took a deep breath and appeared to be emotional. Her attorneys put their arms around her. Judge Oda continued to read the verdict form.
Count 3, child endangerment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of child endangerment.
Skylar broke down just then, placed her hand over her mouth, and began to cry.
Verdict form number 4, we, the jury in the above captioned case, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, guilty of the offense of abuse of a corpse.
Skylar continued to be emotional in the courtroom. Her parents, Kim and Scott, sat behind her holding hands. They were emotional too. The jury then left the courtroom. Skylar's bail was revoked, and she was placed into handcuffs, booked into jail until her sentencing hearing the next day. Kim could be heard saying, "I love you so much, I love you," to her daughter. For a conviction of abuse of a corpse, Skylar could face up to 12 months in prison. But because of her lack of a criminal record, both sides agreed that she likely faced only 6 months in jail or probation time. At her sentencing, Judge Oda talked about his decision to allow cameras in the courtroom.
I think there is some value in the community having the opportunity to actually watch this trial. I only have 40-some seats in the courtroom. So it's out there. So if people want to know what happened in the trial, they can go watch for themselves. They don't have to rely on what somebody posts about it or what somebody tweets about it. They can see the actual evidence that was presented. One of the reasons that I did this is so that the community, whether they agreed with the verdict or not, would have confidence in the way that decision was reached. So if somebody comes up to you and talks about how we have a baby killer that got off in Warren County, or we have an innocent person who was convicted and didn't do anything wrong, we can direct them to the actual evidence so that maybe you can get a better idea of whether or not they have an accurate opinion of whether justice was served in this case.
He then asked Skylar if she had anything to say.
Ms. Richardson, you get the last word in all of this. Is there anything that you want to tell me before I impose a sentence?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would do anything and above that you ask, and I understand. And I just wanted to say how sorry I was. I can sometimes be selfish, but I would like to think that I've become better in the knowledge that I've upset everyone and hurt so many people with what I've done. And I'm forever sorry, and I'm so sorry. I'm really, really sorry, and I understand. And thank you.
Judge Oda told Skylar that he has a daughter the same age as her and a granddaughter who's about the same age Annabelle would have been.
Life is precious, and it should be protected, and it should be guarded in all respects. And I have reviewed all of the expert reports in this case. I listened to the expert's testimony. I firmly believe, Ms. Richardson, in fact, I know in my heart that if you would have made different decisions in this case, Annabelle would be here today. And I know that might be difficult for you to hear. Some people are inclined to think to themselves, you know, this is America. We kill unborn babies every day. But I don't look at it that way, Ms. Richardson. And the law does not allow me to consider the acts that you took prior to giving birth. But I think that your choices before birth, during birth, and after show a grotesque disregard for life. And I think when I look at this case, that to me is what offends the community sensibilities.
Judge Oda sentenced Skylar to 3 years of supervised release. If she violates the terms of her probation, she could go to jail for a year. Skylar was also sentenced to 7 days in jail, but was given credit for the 7 days she already served. That meant Skylar got to go home. After the trial, Annabelle's remains were released. The Richardson family already had a burial plot. Attorney Charles M. Ritgers spoke to the Law and Crime Trial Network after Skylar was sentenced and was asked about the judge's statement to her.
What would you say to those people? If you have an opportunity to speak out to them here on Law and Crime, you have an opportunity to speak out to the people that still believe she got off, that the prosecution just couldn't prove their case, but they know in their hearts, including one of the former law enforcement experts who testified, still believes that that baby was alive. What do you say to the people that call her and believe she's a baby killer?
A couple things. One, I say that those people didn't watch the entire trial. So if you're going to have a strong opinion like that about a young woman who spent an entire life loving other human beings, including children, and making a snap decision on whether or not she would kill a child, you didn't watch the whole trial. Because I know from a number of focus groups, from this jury and other people that I've spoken with, that those people who watched the entirety of the trial and saw all the evidence, they know that Skylar did not kill a child. I know in my heart of hearts she didn't either.
And that's all for this episode. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts on this case. Do you believe baby Annabelle was born alive? Or do you believe Skylar, that the baby was a stillborn? How would you have voted if you were on this jury? And do you think her sentence was fair? Let me know by joining the discussion on Instagram @CourtJunkie, by tweeting me @CourtJunkiePod, or by emailing me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. Parts 1 and 2 of the Brooke Skylar Richardson case were researched and written by Jennifer Tintner from the Law and Crime Network. You can find her on Twitter at Jennifer Tintner. To listen to these episodes without all the ads, to gain access to additional Court Junkie content, or to just see how you can support this podcast, go to courtjunkie.com/support. And lastly, there's a podcast called Expeditiously with Tip T.I. Harris, and it's starting off the new year with 2 amazing episodes you won't want to miss. First, he's talking with Taraji P. Henson, star of Empire, about her career in film and television. Then, Tip sits down with Mike Tyson for a no-holds-barred interview that is both hilarious and informative. Be sure to subscribe on Podcast One, Apple Podcasts, and many other podcast apps so you can get new episodes every week. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.